Hi guys, and welcome back to Wade's Workshop. Okay, so this episode is going to be part one of fitting the DRO on the new mill. Well, it's not so new anymore, but on my new mill, right. I'm going to start with the Z-axis. I think it's probably the easiest one of them all. It's 300 odd mil long, I think, the Z. Anyway, as I'm sitting here speaking to you now, all three axes are done and dusted. I suppose it goes to show the amount of film that I've already got in the can, that's not been edited yet. Or maybe it shows the amount of editing I'm behind on. I don't know, it'll show one or the other. Right, okay. So as usual, a few new bits have arrived for the shop. Boring head. I bought myself a boring head, 50mm boring head, a metric version. Arc Euro Trade, I got this from. Banggood do them, you never know what you're going to get. You might have a complete piece of what's it, or you might have something reasonable. You don't know with Banggood. So, Arc Euro Trade, I've used them before. Everything I've had from them has been, yes, it's all Chinese, but it's on the better end of the Chinese. You're not going to come across any nasties. And if you do, they're UK based. You can give them a bell and say, oi, look at this. And you get a replacement. Right, so MT3 Arbor, actually I haven't opened the packet yet. MT3 Arbor to go straight into my quill. The Arbor for the boring head. M12 thread so I can keep my M12 drawbar, happy days. I haven't mentioned it before, the drill chuck that goes in the mill is an MT3 Arbor with an M10 drawbar. Everything MT3 seems to be M12, it seems to be, the perfect thing. But for some reason the drill chuck arbor is M10 and I got to keep swapping back and forth between drawbars, which is a pain, so I will be sorting that out. But yes, I've made sure I got one with an M12. Right, and the boring head itself comes with 9 different size boring bars for various, short series, long series ones. A couple of Allen keys. Again, I haven't opened this either, so we're opening it on camera. But yeah, I mean, the majority of the stuff that I've had from Arc Euro Trade has been okay. It's Chinese, but it's okay. It's nothing nasty. So, yeah, needs fitting up on the arbor. I should probably give it all a good clean out and put that together at a later date, ready for use. So I dare say you're going to see that in the future. Okay, let's get on with fitting this Z-axis. I got myself a Jinxie. Well, that's what it's called, a Jinxie. 3-axis DRO. Happy days, no problems. Ordered the whole kit online. As you probably all know, I was going to get one from Banggood and I wouldn't have had to pay for it, bloody blah. And, well, I just decided not to do that. Purely because, returning stuff, if you got something faulty, after my debacle with a dodgy milling cutter, and it's like, 30 odd quid for the cutter. And I think, well, I can't be bothered to send it back and go through all that hassle. But for something that's, a couple of £100, then, you want a company that you can get hold of if you have problems. So I bought it online, UK-based company. Yes, it's been shipped from China. But yeah, you got to, there's a phone number you can ring if you have a problem. So that's why I went out and bought one. Right, so yeah, it's there, it's on its bracket which came with it. It sits there, it's not attached on the mill. There's enough going on the mill without me having a DRO hanging off the side of it as well. So we put it over there out the way. One of the scales here, I wrapped the cable up. It was all loose and flopping around everywhere, so yeah, I just put a cable tie on it. 300mm this one for the Z-axis. I've got a 600mm for the X and a 200mm for the Y. I can only, get about 180mm on the Y, so 200's fine. 300 is more than enough on the Z, and 600 is more than enough on the X-axis. So my thinking is, okay, let's bring you around. It's easier to see. I got two choices. I can put it on this side of the mill, or I'm going to move you around on the tripod, I'm afraid. Or, yeah, you can't really see in the back of it. There's less going on this side of the mill. And tucked back, sort of in here somewhere, for the scale to be bolted on, would be absolutely fine. I've got two surfaces here that are flat to each other, or, you know, all bar the shouting. I could mount a subplate on this surface, which would be all, well, you know, in the same plane as the sliding surface, and then mount the scale on that. So that's what I'm going to do, but I can describe it on the other side because you can see it better. So yeah, on the other side, this side's got a scale on it. Obviously that would cause problems with lumps and bumps and, you know, steps and screwing it down and what have you. So this side I'm not going to put it on, even though it would be fine, it wouldn't be in my way. But the other side, it's completely out the way, and I might want to do something here at some point in the future. So my plan is, I've got a chunk of 50 by 10 aluminium bar. I've ordered in a couple of lengths. 2 pieces like this 800mm long is enough to do both slides, no problem. So yeah, I'm going to cut it to length. The overall length of the scale is 435 for a 300mm scale. So I'm going to cut this and machine the ends 435 to start with. The first little job, just clean up the end. It actually was pretty square as the material was supplied to me. A couple of little dinks in it, I need to take about another mil. It's been dropped on its corner in transport, I think. So yeah, need to probably take a mil off. So I machined the support plate to length. It turned out to be 434 in the end, and it's perfect match for the length of the scale. And I want to offset the scale on this back that way. It'll become evident why, but back on this rear face. Obviously there are slots for clocking it up and what have you, so you know we've got a bit of adjustment to get it all lined up. It didn't come with any M6 bolts, but these slots here take M6 bolts nicely, and I've got some of an appropriate length. So yeah, the slot runs centre about, so I'll measure the thickness of this. We'll scribe a line the right distance in, and we'll bang a hole through, tapped M6 either end. So I've just picked up the centre, a 6mm spotting drill in there. Just mark that. Okay, we'll drill it through with a 5mm drill for M6. I've got a 5mm drill at the ready. Ooh, just high enough. Just check I'm not going to drill into a parallel. Yeah, we're all right. WD-40. There we are. 5mm hole. Finish it off with a little countersink. That'll do nicely. So that's that one ready for tapping. I'll do the same on the other end. I'll flick it round now, pick up the other hole on the other end. I've just put the 2 bolts down in. They're just finger nipped. Obviously I don't want to take them down because of this. I've still got these cable ties on there, so they are loose. I just want to check that the guard, or chip guard, splash guard, what have you, is going to fit on there. Obviously those cable ties are getting in the way as well, but that's not to worry. So yeah, I want to put some small screw holes down through here to screw this guard on, or the chip guard, spray guard, whatever you want to call it. So there's going to be a load of tapped holes in here, and you know, maybe one every 50mm or 80mm or something like that. I'll work it out. And I also need 3 bolt holes for bolting, for actually bolting it onto the machine. I'm going to put one either end. No, I think one either end is going to do it. I can't see any point in putting 3 in there. If there's one in either end and they're tight, no reason why I'm going to need one in the middle, I wouldn't have thought. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't made my mind up. So I did decide on 3 holes after all. the centre one here, I've drilled and counterbored for an M5 screw. Well, would have if it wasn't swarping the hole. Yeah, I've drilled and counterbored for an M5 screw to sit just below surface. In the two ends, I'm just going to put the tapping drill for the M5 through, and I can use that. I can bolt it on. I can, you know, pick the first hole, drill it, tap it. This is going to be done with a, you know, a handheld drill. Drill it, tap it. Then I can screw it on with this screw in the centre, clock up the edge of the plate to make sure everything's nice and square. Not that the plate's important, it's the detail, it's the scale that's going to be important, but I can clock the plate up anyway. So yeah, clock the plate up square, and then I can drill through the two end holes, or spot them, get them started with the tapping drill, using the plate as a guide to get them in the right place. And then I can just pull it back off, open the holes up, countersink them like these ones, and once I've tapped the three holes, I can just bolt it back into place. So that's my thinking. I may not even use the centre screw, but it's there if I want it, you know, for setting it up. So that's spotted it with a 4mm spotting drill, and then the 4.2 M5 tapping drill. Looks about right. And that's that. So that's the 3 holes for bolting it onto the machine. That's the 2 holes for bolting the scale onto the plate. 2 holes, yeah, 2 tapped holes. The 3 holes for bolting it onto the machine. And now I want a series of small holes along this edge for bolting on this guard, which will be a final thing. So this will be just drilled and tapped on. So I'll decide on a pitch and where we are, drill and tap some holes across here, and I may even clamp this on in place. Yeah, I may even clamp it on with a couple of toolmaker's clamps and drill the 2 as one, and then open the hole out in the guard afterwards. I think that's probably the simplest way. So as you can see, I've just clamped the little trim on with a couple of toolmaker's clamps. I've set it up in the middle of here. It's all lined up. I've got a 3mm spotting drill. So my plan is, it's the smallest spotting drill I've got. Hold on. I'm going to spot through the guard and mark the part at the same time. So I'm just going to go below surface. I felt that breakthrough. I got 130mm increments, works out about right. So yeah, 29 is going to be my reading on the front scale for the next one. So I'll move along. I'm just using the scale on the mill. So it's another mill from there. Should be the next round number on the dial. That's it. Lock off. I'm getting very close with the jaws of the chuck. Okay, so 29, that's 130, so that's going to be minus 101. Yes, I have to think then. We don't like this thinking. Whoop, kick the camera. Right, let's just have a look. That's minus 100, go round another mill. There we are, next round figure, minus 101. So should miss everything there. Sure I've broken through. So onwards now, minus 101 and 130 is minus 231. think I can get to the end. Yeah, once I've done this, I can just retrace my steps. That's 230 nearly. Round to the next number. Let's just check that. No, that's 230. Round another one. On the hand wheels. Minus 231. I was lucky, I'm just missing the clamp. Okay, so these are going to be little M4 cap heads. I can take the guard away now, so I'll just remove the little clamps. So these holes that I've just drilled in there, the 4 holes, will have to be opened up to clearance on the 4mm bolts on a 4.1 drill. Well, that's easy enough. And now I've got 4 spotted holes. So tapping drill for M4 is a 3.3, so I'll get a 3.3mm drill up and drill those out for tapping M4. So, a bit of WD-40, 3.3mm drill, and drill them all out like that. Am I running at 1487? I think that's flat out. Yeah, it is flat out in low gear. So, 130. I should have written those figures down, shouldn't I? 231 less 130 is a 101. Someone once said to me, I hate tapping aluminium. It's like tapping butter with knots in it. It's the only time I've ever heard it, but yeah, I suppose I get what he says. It does, you know, it can... goes well, everything's fine, smooth, and all of a sudden you seem to hit a knot and say goodbye to a tap, especially when you're in little ones like M4. Not that M4 is particularly little, but you know what I'm saying. So I've got my 3 tapped holes. Yeah, not for the faint-hearted, drilling holes in your machine. And I've redone the plate now, opened the holes out where they were just the tapping drill size. And that's 1. 2. That's the plate in position, or the mounting plate. Or it will be in a moment. Yeah, I ran a clock. I mounted a clock on the face here. Ran it pretty much down, well, from a point about here down to about there, and this plate was reading 0 on the clock. So yeah, with a bit of tapping about, swiveling on the centre point, I got it clocked up in line with the Z-axis. So we'll just get that one started. A couple of turns. Okay, put the one in the bottom. Again, a couple of turns. Where is it? Should be there somewhere. Yep, there we go. So I'm going to look at how high this is going to be bolted on. Obviously I'm going to build a bridge over the top and bolt it onto here, so that as this goes up and down, so the pickup does. Right, yeah, we'll take that for granted. Now I know, because I've measured it beforehand, that this part of the head here will go up 20mm. Whoops. I'm glad I put that clamp on there. Will go up 20mm beyond the top of the column. So it's 125 step at the moment. So another 20mm will be 145. I'm going to say it goes 5mm higher. I'm going to say 150. So my position or centre line of the bracketry on here is going to be 150 down. As you can see, there we are, from the centre point of the pickup, which is here. And I've transferred it onto the head there. And that means when my head's fully up, all the way to the top and hitting the ceiling, this still has 5mm left in it. So yeah, it's just a fail-safe. So yeah, that's what my plan is for that. So I've got a centre point of where it's going to go. Now I'm going to need to take this back off again now and make up the bracketry. The kit does come with this sort of horrible looking thing here, which I'm not a fan of, which I suppose I could utilise, but now we'll make something for that. So the length of the pickup head is 80 millimeters. Just measured it with the calipers. So I'll cut another piece of the same material off. We're just going to square it up. So this 79.9 something, that's close enough. Okay, so on the back of the reader head are 4 small tapped holes. So I want to replicate that with 4 clearance holes for the same bolts in here, so that this plate can be bolted to the back. Let me bring it into shot. I don't know whether you'll be able to see this. Yeah, 4 little tapped holes, so I just want to replicate those holes for some 4 screws in my plate there. Oh, didn't have that tight enough, but I didn't want it too tight. So that little plate does screw onto the reed head, but I've actually come way too long with it, so I need to machine it down now 30 mil from back to front. So 30 mil is the size I'm looking for. So yeah, I've just nipped them up on there. Oop. Just been trying to be gentle with this reed head in this slot. So I hacksaw the piece off, leaving about 2.5, 3 mil, and just machining it to the finished size of 30 mil. This should be the last cut. Okay, so a little bridge that's going to go over the top needs to be 110 mil. I'm going to make it, and that's got 0.2, yeah, 0.27 left on it. Okay, so 0.1, 0.2. Let's try that. A bit WD. Should be a finishing cut this now. So as I had the milling cutter up, I just as well get this to the size I want before I swap back to the drill chuck. So yeah, lots of little blocks, square blocks. It's just sort of, I've got to make a structure that goes from sort of point A to point B. So yeah, it's basically from the bottom of the readout head, you've got the plate with the holes in, we've already seen, a bridge over the top, and then there's going to be a plate then which clamps this, the end of this bridge is going to be a spacer more than anything, with 2 holes in it for 2 bolts which bolt onto the head that moves up and down. So as you can see, we're putting 4 countersunk holes, drilled and counterbored I should say, for M5 cap screws in this plate. These two 30 mil apart, and they're 5 mil in. They're going to bolt into the little bracket we made earlier, up underneath. I haven't done the holes in here yet. And these two are 10 mil in from the end, but 30 mil apart again. So I just need to index across for the last one. So it's 10 turns of my hand wheel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 10 turns to the 0, go past it, and then back to the 0. Taking out the backlash, lock the table off. So yeah, I'm all set up for this. Obviously this is the 4th one. So spot it, M5 spotting drill. I've got 5.3 drill here, plenty of clearance. Works just well on the the counterboring bit as well, 5.3, it clears the pilot on it just nicely. Okay, so that's drilled through 5.3. Counterbore next. Bring it down to touch. Set a 0 on the quill DRO. And 5mm deep we're going with this. It's about 4.8mm deep on the head. The head is. It's a 5mm spine, it just puts it below surface just a touch. Oh, nearly. That's it, 5mm deep. No job is finished till the deburring's done. As I said, I haven't taken this out since I milled the two ends, so I had a reference point to start with. Oh, little squeak there. And there we are, that's the, well, I'll call it a bridge plate. Needs all deburring now, but yep, that's that done. So same sort of idea with this. M5 tapped holes this time. 80mm long block, I want 2 holes central about 30mm, so I've come 25 in, so now I'll find another 30, so that's 10 turns. So my original plan was to have 2 M5 clearance holes in here, and then I could have bolted that down through, when, you know, all the guide and all the rail is all on, I could have bolted down through and into some tapped holes which I'd have to spot through into the head of the mill. So I would have needed some, well, I've actually made it a little bit over length. It's going to be around 40mm, but I made it 43 for now. We're going to do a few tests with it. But I would have needed some Allen bolts sort of 50mm long, somewhere in that region to get, you know, 5 or 6mm of thread in the hole. But I didn't have any Allen bolts. I thought I did, but it turned out the 50mm long ones I got are M4. So not to be beaten, I changed the plan and went for M5 tapped holes in here, so I can bolt that block to that block. And what I'm going to do is a couple of little offset holes right down through, clearance on M4 bolts and countersunk, so I can bolt this block onto the head with a couple of M4s once it's in place, and then simply bolt the 2 bits together. I will have to adapt or tune the length of this to get it right when I come to fit it all up. So, yeah, I suppose next thing I got to do is set some offsets. Now, when this is bolted together and I've got this block the right height, I won't be able to spot the holes through in the right place. So, what I'm going to do is bolt this on. I'll decide on some coordinates for these holes. I'll bolt this on and I'll drill down through this part first, you know, through both with this in place. And then when I've done that, I'll just take this away and then complete the holes off, ready with the pockets to take the bolts, that idea. So I've got my clock set from the head. Oh, it's just under 0. You guys will know before me whether we're anywhere near or not. Come down a few inches. Are we looking? We are a bit out. Okay. I'm going to try moving the aluminium plate. No, I'm not. I'm going to leave the aluminium plate. Pretty much I've climbed here by 7 thou at this point, from a point about here. So let me think. I can either bring the top back or the bottom out. I think we'll take the bottom out first, see how we go. These are not dead tight, these Allen bolts. So let me move you out of the way. Just loosen that off. Let me go a bit beyond 0. Let's see how that looks. I think what I'm going to do is go down as low as I can go, get a reading, and then go back up. So let's do that. So after going up and down over that sort of 9-inch area, time and time again, I finally got it, that it's just floating between 0 and half a thou. So yeah, I mean, it's probably about 4/10. I think it probably got that in the aluminium extrusion, so I think that's as good as I'm going to get. It's tight and it's all locked. So I put the back plate on, it's all screwed onto the sender, and the sender always seems to want to sit in a particular place, whether it's in the wipers or what have you. So I've let it settle into this particular place, and I put some paper shims, one in the back, one in the front, just so that the sender unit isn't hard against the aluminium extrusion, and just locked it there in place. So that's my sort of reference point. So I can put the bridge back on now. So that's the bridge back in place. And I just squared it up to the end there using a parallel off the back base of the reader. So yeah, that's now set in place and locked. So point of no return, guys. Spot the holes onto the head. Only want to go in a couple of mil. And that's what those 2 holes were for in the bracket. That should be it, and I can see cast dust coming out when I did it. Yeah, the blue rolls to keep the cast up all sideways. There we are, guys. I've pretty much lost the camera again. I've got a plan in place for that, like a battery pack that I'm going to have as a backup for the camera, you know, something that'll last a few days rather than an hour. Yeah, when the table, that's as far down as the head will come. The concertina bit here is all fully compacted, and I've still got probably about 26 mil of travel coming down, so that's fine. It's all locked off. I did have to open up a couple of holes. I just give myself a bit more clearance in these just to get it so there was no bias on it. Yeah, it felt a bit pulley on the side walls of the threads as I was putting it together. So yeah, I just loosened them off. The paper just slipped out afterwards, so happy with that. And I can just fit a piece of paper in top and bottom. So I slipped the guard up from underneath. Happy days, the locks still work. You know, I can still, as long as you put the handles in the right place, obviously, but the locks still work. And finally, up on top, I don't know whether you can see, let me bring you in there. Oops, sorry guys. Yeah, I did get some P-clips. I thought I was going to need some. They were a bit big, but a couple of wraps of insulation tape around the cable and they clamped down. I utilised one of the holes on the top. I'll probably utilise some more as I go along for the X and Y axis. But yeah, so I've left a bit of slop in there when it's at its lowest point, and it should just sort of loop out when it's at the top. In fact, I haven't tried that yet. So yeah, it's probably the least useful of the 3 axis for the DRO, but I think it was probably the simplest one for me to start with. Or yeah, well, if it was the hardest one, then I'll be happy. Well, that's the Z-axis, all machined, done, fitted, and I have plugged it in and it's working absolutely fine. So, 1 down, 2 to go. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and we shall see you all very soon. Cheers now.